Steven, I'm working on a couple triggers. Actually, we talking about Yeet Cannon tonight. Yes, that's pretty much my first thing because in 2019 or 2018, that was the big thing, and we'll just get started on that with SHOT Show. I mean, that's all anybody was talking about. That with all the memes, all the pictures that were coming from SHOT Show was the YC9, and of course, if you know anything about how that got its name, was High Point made the biggest internet mistake that companies make, and that is asking the public online to help name something. And of course, Yeet Cannon won out. Originally, they were going to name it something after everything hit the fan, and Yeet Cannon won. they were originally going to call it something else. I forget what the name was. And then finally they got literally, Steven, you're right. They got bullied into bringing it back. And the YC9 or Yeet Cannon 9, that was the name. Now, it promised a lot of features for like $200. Everything from a threaded barrel to extra slide serrations. I think it was optic cut, and it made a big splash. It literally made a big splash, and I'm sure something that heavy, knowing if you've ever dealt with a High Point, they are freaking heavy just to stay together with that cheap metal that they use. So that would definitely make a big splash. Anyways, for the money, it was literally going to be, a heck of a deal. But, and I remember all the memes of this. I mean, they're ugly. It was ugly. Just the 3D printed model was going around, pictures of it being screwed directly to their display, and people are saying, if they treat their, I don't know. It was a big deal. Everybody was talking about the Yeet Cannon. And after SHOT Show, you didn't hear much about it. And here we are several years later, and I scoured the internet to try and find out any information about whether or not the YC9 was, it hit me the other day. I'm like, why? I haven't heard anything about the YC9 in a while. So I figured, you know what? Let me go check. Scott, you'll dual wield 2 YC9s if they are double stack mags. I know how strong you are, Scott. I don't think you're going to be able to hold those up for very long. I'm just saying. Just saying, Scott. Anyways. So I looked. I couldn't find anything. Now, granted, you can still find the Yeet Cannon G1. The gun broker will have them all over the place, and that was I gotta give High Point this. They went with it. They laser etched a bunch of them with Yeet Cannon Gen 1, and they understood the joke, and I get that. I have to applaud them for it. They build some cheap guns. They really do, and they for the most part work. Scott, who is the one that brought up he brought up an excellent modification for the original High Point, my good friend Scott, where if you remove a spring inside of there, it drops the break of the trigger by like 2 pounds. It becomes almost a decent trigger. It doesn't make the gun good, but it definitely helps. So, I mean, if you're interested in Yeet Cannon trigger modifications, we can talk about that at a later time and date. The magazine safety spring. Thank you, Scott. So, but after that, it's been several years, and there's no. Now, granted, this has been a hell of a 2-year span, 3-year span since that announcement came out. So it doesn't surprise me that from a manufacturing standpoint that they're not out yet. It was definitely a pie in the sky pricing back then. Yeah. um, Back then, to get that sort of gun and for them to make a profit, even back then, was kind of asking for a lot. In today's marketplace, I can definitely see why they haven't, but I literally, there's not any really good updates for the YC9. Just, it was one of those things. Wild Card Wednesday. I thought I'd bring it up. If anybody's heard anything about it, that maybe they've got an inside source at High Point, let me know. I'm kind of interested. I really don't want one, but at the same time, kind of do just because. And I definitely need to get one before my friend Scott gets one, just so that I can rub it in his face. So that's it on the YC9. I literally, if anybody's got any information on it, or has seen one, or if knows whether they're planning on actually bringing one to the market, I'd be interested in just hearing something about it. Yeah, $160 for your $160 pew. Yeah, I don't think I could even begin charging. You know what? I do have that High Point. I could do some laser etching on it if the slide would survive. Probably melt. Okay, so yeah, Yeet Cannon. What a deal. So if anybody knows anything, let me know. I'm curious. It's kind of a wild card subject. And then let's go on to another subject. The